Welcome to Wise Women Wednesday with Brava Women Networking. We're really excited today to have Clare Blackstock from Blade Creative presenting to us. Today we're going to be looking at brand identity and logo. What's the difference? What is a visual brand identity? What is a logo? And a few examples. Clare designs brand identities, logos, print material, packaging, and illustrations that you're proud to show off. Her job is to get you and your business her job is to get to know you and your business and then find a way to visually represent it in a way that turns browsers into buyers. With an eye for design backed by decades of experience in business strategy, Clare knows that she's hit the mark when she creates something that resonates not only with you, but with everyone in your target market. She'll make your brand the way that they will remember you. Over to you, Clare.
Thank you, dear. Thanks. So you said what I was going to say anyway to begin with. And yes, I'm from Blade Creative. I've been doing this in Australia for about 12 years. And I've known Dia for that length of time as well. So brand identity versus logo. I think people know what a logo is. You ought to know what a logo is. But people also talk about brand identity and visual identities, which are broader terms. So we are, just need to move this, hold on. Oh, excuse me. We're surrounded by logos all day, every day. But you're not just surrounded by the logos, you are surrounded by visual identities, and they're all trying to compete with you. You'll be familiar with all these logos, but they communicate with you via packaging, via lots of different things in lots of different ways. Logos are just one element of the brand, and a logo is a visual symbol or mark used to represent a company or organization. It's not always, it can be the most recognizable element. It's not always the most recognizable element. So for small businesses, it means that as well. Your logo is just part of your broader visual identity. So I'm going to break it down a little bit. The logo is at the core, and it's a symbol or a mark that represents brand, but it could be a graphic, it could be a word mark, it could be a mascot, it could be an icon or an illustration. Your audience should see it and instantly recognize that it's your business. And if they don't know your business, it should tell them what your business is. It should tell them your business's name. So this is a logo. You should recognize this logo. And these are all logos that you should recognize. The Apple one is an icon. Coca-Cola is a word mark. Dove has a word mark with an icon. LG is a monogram. But you'll see them in different ways. You'll sometimes see Apple with the word mark. You'll sometimes see the Dove bird on its own. You'll sometimes see the Starbucks mascot with the words around it. So they have a logo. They'll have a suite of logos, and small businesses can have a suite of logos as well. Like, back to Brava. Brava has several versions of its logo. This one is without the tagline. This one is an icon with a longer tagline, and there are different ways of expressing that brand. But until you know the brand name Brava, this B doesn't tell you that it's Brava. You need to understand it. You need to recognize it for this brand mark or icon to make to break through. So on top of the logo, you have your brand's visual identity. So that can be colors, it can be typography, it could be imagery. As a bare minimum, I think a small business owner should know the fonts that work with their brand identity, that make up their brand identity. It's not necessarily the logo font, but be consistent. Should know the colors that you can always use. So if you're making a Canva post, you know what color code to put in so you can keep your brand consistent. And those are things that help people recognize your brand. For Brava, the visual identity is not just the color red. and the typography. It's things like it's things like beards, fingernails. Here, so you should show some now. There we go. It's even things like the cookies with the logo on them. It's the color and the style of the website. They all make up the broader visual identity on top of the logo. And then on top of that, you have the brand identity, and that's when you're moving away from just the visual. So it's about the way the words have been written on the Brava website. It's about the tone of voice of the social media posts. It's about the atmosphere at a Brava event. It's the brand's personality. It's about being inclusive. It's about being supportive. It's about being fun. It's about being informal. And those are all personality traits that you can't just communicate in a logo, but can start to be communicated in the visual identity and the brand identity. So the way that the words are written, for instance. But they're the driving force of the design, and it's what I had to think about them. We discussed them at length before the brand came to life, before the logo came to life, and before the visual identity came to life. So it all kind of layers up. And so this is Brava's brand identity. It's the community. It's the feeling that you have when you're at an event, or even if you're at an online event. And then on top of that, you get branding, and that's a verb, that's an active thing. It's about the strategy, the process of shaping a brand and growing a brand. When I talk to clients, I start that process, and it's quite strategic, and it's about asking the questions and pulling information out of the brand owner or the brand stakeholder. When it's a small business owner, it's quite often about that person's personality themselves. They need to feel that that brand represents them, and when they hand over their business card or hand over their packaged product, it really represents them. It feels connected with them, and it communicates to the audience that they're trying to communicate to. So when we talked about Brava's brand, I went through that strategic process. I asked Dia, we talked about the specific person that she was trying to talk to. So it's a woman. It does exclude men. It's probably someone in her mid-40s. It doesn't exclude people in their mid-20s or in their 60s. But that gives us a focus for how the brand is trying to communicate. And that's where it all comes from. That's where the logo design and all the layers on top of it came from. And you can apply it to lots of different brands. So when these are all ways that a brand can communicate visually. This is a poster for a preschool. This is their logo, but this imagery represents what the brand is about. And other illustrations and graphics do that too. This is Sam's business card, and it shows her logo, but the style and the brand identity is also, or the visual identity is also clear. It's refined, it's elegant, it's slightly informal, but it's clear and contemporary as well. Foodie Trails, here's the logo, but this illustration on a bag represents the broader visual identity. So you've got illustrations. It's all about Melbourne. It's all about the places they go when they do their food walks around Melbourne. Packaging is a really important thing for food businesses, and I work with a lot of them. The brand has to be instantly recognizable, but also what the product is has to be instantly recognizable, because you've got to communicate in nanoseconds to get someone to buy that product. They've got to understand it immediately, but they've got to also recognize who makes it, so that if they love the brownies, they'll then buy the cookies, because it's an instantly recognizable thing. This is just an example of a really quite a simple logo specification document that gives the key information that I think any small business should have about their logo and their brand. So here, there are the different logo versions, the fonts that are used in the logo, the colors that are used in the logo, so that when this client is making things to do with their brand and communicating their brand. They can be consistent about it. So when you have all these elements, you then have a brand, and the brand cannot exist without all the layers beneath it. And I have now I've created something called the Blade brand onion inadvertently. So but the layers underneath are important. So a brand is Apple, a brand is Google, a brand is Coca-Cola, a brand is Brava, a brand is Blade Creative, it's Karen White, Lucia and your business, I can't remember the name. But it's all about the things underneath, and that's what's important. And that is the difference between a brand and a logo. I've worked with quite a few people who have a logo and help them evolve it into a brand, going through that strategic process and developing the tools to keep their brand consistent and to grow and to communicate consistently and effectively to the people that they want to communicate to. So, anyone got any questions?
Thank you, Claire. And if people want to connect with Claire, there's her email, and we'll drop her website